Good morning, everybody. Derek from Okayest Hunter here. Just took the old fat tire TW200 out down some logging trails in a fresh, clear-cut area. Well, I shouldn't say fresh. It's done, I think in 2023, so it's going on its second year here. But I'm out this morning in the North Woods up by my parents' cabin, and the plan is to do a little scouting. So I've got a couple ideas, some spots I'd like to take a look at, and we're going to start here. This big clear cut drops down into a big creek valley, basically. I don't want to call it like a river valley, but there's a creek that runs down in the bottom here. Everything kind of slopes down. I saw this fresh cut on the map. I did some hunting years ago just north of here, but I've always saw this spot on the map, and there's some like changes in terrain where it goes down to this low creek area. There's lots of grass. Then there's a couple little hills that are mixed in there with what looks like evergreen and spruce trees. And now with this cut here, I just took a clip of the tracks walking down the road, but there's obviously going to be a lot of deer in here browsing on all this fresh growth and vegetation. So today the plan is to kind of scout out likely gun hunting spots. I don't know how much I'll be able to get up here bow hunting. Ideally, it'd be great to get up here and do a couple hunts with Dad. But for sure, looking for some gun hunting spots. So travel areas near food where deer can seek refuge is kind of the goal today. This bike is pretty awesome though. Anybody who's got a little bike like this, they're real low to the ground. They're great for riding these woods roads. They're geared real low, big fat tires. You don't tip over in the sand and gravel. So pretty awesome. Dad lets me use that to get back in here. So I'm gonna get my stuff ready, grab some water. It's gonna be a hot one today. Some bug spray for sure. And then I'm gonna make my way along the edge of this cut down toward the bottom. And it's hard to see. July 12th. It's pretty hard to see anything, but you gotta use the time you got. So I'm gonna get out there, take a look. If I find anything notable, maybe we'll make a little video out of this. Hopefully we do. So see you in a little bit. Nice deer bed right there. Pretty good size. One all by itself. We're just off the top of the hill, a little ways down. Nice shady spot next to this tree and the bush. Bed is there. You can see the timber. There's a line of trees right here, but the timber line where they logged runs a little bit further, comes right down this edge here, and then kind of wraps around. So there's definitely plenty of vegetation growing in here. Lots of raspberry bushes. Grabbed a few for my breakfast snack here on the way. This is a relatively clean, clear cut, which is meaning that they did a pretty good job. There's not much timber laying on the ground here. Not a lot of tops. It's actually pretty easy to walk in compared to a lot of other clear cuts that I've been in recently. So that makes it nice. But there's fresh tracks, there's trails. So the deer are definitely coming in here feeding. I'm gonna try to get on the edge here and see what the timber looks like that's adjacent to this clear cut. They logged in here because of a huge windstorm. You've heard me talk about it a lot of times if you've watched any of the other videos. But if the timber there is full of blowdowns and is real nasty, then I'll know to stick closer to the clear cut. And if it's fairly open, decent woods, then I know I can kind of hunt the edge and expect deer to travel back and forth through there. Ooh, we're up on some deadfalls here. Of course, right after I say this is a clean, easy to walk clear cut, gets a little harder. Whoa! Whew, yeah. Slip right off of those puppies when they're wet. Now, this is why you want to do your spring scouting and not have to get out here in the middle of July like me. But that's all right. I'll do what we can. Just thought I'd share that bed with you guys. All right. better walk in here. Maybe we'll stumble across a shed in here. That'd be pretty cool. Be a real miracle to see one of those in this crap. Hopefully we don't find it the hard way. Take one through the boot. All right, keep looking. All right, I'm gonna try to do a quick video before the mosquitoes pick me up and carry me away with their stinger beak blood-sucking straws. I came down off that ridge, you guys saw me. I started on the very top of the ridge in the clear cut, came down the edge, and where the hill started falling away and they stopped logging, there was a nice little mixture of young popples that were regrowing. And then it got down to the low stuff that I had mentioned by the creek, and that stuff was just an absolute nightmare. A lot of spruce timber, older popples, and all of it was blown down. So the wind must have been coming across that open creek bottom, hit this side, and I went in, I don't know, 60 yards. It took me a long time to get in there, just going through blackberry bushes and walking on deadfalls, and the deer sign was just non-existent in there. And I thought, how in the hell would I ever get a deer out of here, even if I did hunt in here, if there was a deer stupid enough? So I came back out to the edge of the clear cut, and what I did is I worked my way south, and that ridge kind of ran south. And I walked it at the bottom of the clear cut, and there's a lot of tracks, a couple old rubs from last year, and then I just rounded a corner. So the ridge kind of runs north-south, and then I started looping to the west here, and the ridge kind of petered out. You can see the tops way back there. But the ridge kind of petered out, it mellowed out, and kind of formed this little low, subtle ridge that's filled with a lot more of these little bit bigger popple trees. And there's a couple of large, trees that survived the windstorm kind of in the middle here. And this finger is working west toward what looks like an old clear cut, like a 20-year-old clear cut, if I had to guess. So I'm kind of walking that way, just figuring that, yeah, it's a terrain change, a little diversity if we hit an older clear cut, but also a 20-year-old clear cut that's all popple trees probably doesn't have wind damage, because those trees were young enough, they probably just didn't blow over and snap. So I'm curious to see, because there's a lot of sign following this edge. I'm kind of curious to see if these deer are going to that older cut and using this little bit of that ridge that kind of petered out to travel back and forth. Because if that's the case, I'll find a spot right at the base of the ridge where it starts kind of petering out and turning the corner. Here's some rubs from last year. Both of these trees right here, rubbed up. Finding lots of these caterpillars. Lots of these caterpillars today. But if I could find a spot where this ridge comes off the main ridge and get up in a tree on the higher side, I think this stuff is young enough that come fall, once the leaves are down off these popples, a guy could see really well and utilize your big advantage during gun season, which is the rifle and the scope. I think a guy could do pretty good. Yeah, this hillside here, watching the edge of this overgrown stuff, this might be something to look at. So I'm gonna push east just to see if I can make it to what appears to be that older clear cut. See if there's much sign around there. That should obviously hold more rubs in those older trees. Here, these trees are just growing up in the last 2-3 years. So rubs are obviously more sparse because the deer just haven't had time to get in here and rub these trees. Oh, here's some beds right here. A little bed here. A little bed here in this nice grassy knoll. the grassy knoll, watch out. But geez, the guy found the right tree. You can watch over this whole swat of woods that's heading east-west. So that's the plan. I'm gonna keep working west, see if I can hit that old clear cut, and then I'll make a loop around, show you anything interesting that I find. Oh, it's hot. Go summer scouting, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Make a summer scouting clear cut big woods video, they said. Blackberries are yummy, they said. All right, so I made my way out of the corner of that clear cut, and I gotta know, yeah, this has gotta be that old clear cut I was talking about. As you guys can see, most of the trees around here are just larger popple trees. It's probably older than 20 years. These are pretty decent size. These are probably going closer to 30-year-old clear cut here. But the good thing is, there's a nice deer trail that I just showed you guys that leads right into here. There's some fresh deer tracks on it. And there was an old rub on it, so that's a good thing. Obviously, they're using this somewhat. This stuff is old enough where we're getting some windblown damage. There's definitely some trees down, but not in a bad way. Kind of in a just adding a bit more cover and opening up the canopy a little bit more. So this is good. Just the fact that this is usable timber for them, usable terrain, and they come in and out of here makes that little strip of clear cut back there all the better, because that's the food source. This is possible bedding because I know nobody is back in here messing with them. This is a nightmare to hunt if you were in here. But hunting that edge could be really good, especially if there's some does holding up in here and out in that clear cut. Those bucks will be traveling that thick popple edge that I walked in on back and forth to check them. So I'm gonna go explore out here a little bit more, and then I'm gonna make my way back to that point of clear cut and see if it's worth kind of figuring out a location, potential location. That's what's difficult about scouting fresh clear cuts is the sign isn't there yet. There's going to be sign made this fall that would be very telling as to where bucks are moving, where does are. But I don't have the luxury of doing a lot of scouting in the fall. So I'm trying to figure it out now and just make my best guess as to how the deer are going to be using it come gun season. So I'm gonna keep meandering around in here. I've always been curious. I've seen this on the map for years. Always been curious. So now I get to look at it. So I'm gonna poke around. All right. I'll show you guys anything good, cool, interesting that I find. All right, class, what did we learn today? We learned, screw summer scouting. It's hot and buggy, and when you walk, everything tries to scratch you and hold your legs back. Yes, we did. That is the main takeaway from today. I'm not gonna stop on this recording and catch my breath so you can hear me better, because the mosquitoes will attack me. So I'm just gonna keep going through the hellhole. The only positive from today is that I ate a lot of raspberries and they were tasty. But on a serious note, I made a big loop back through that bottom area of the clear cut that I was talking about in the previous video. And As of right now, obviously deer sign is in the clear cut. I did not see much for buck sign anywhere around this. Not to say that there's not going to be bucks here, because there will be. But in order for me to dedicate an opening morning sit to this area, I definitely have to come back in October sometime and see if there's some rubs popping up. It's a huge area. This clear cut goes on and on and on. I just looked at one tiny part. But I did not find what I was really hoping to see. It's tough in these young ones. As I mentioned, the sign just hasn't been established yet because they're new. The whole terrain has changed. Everything's new. I did find where I just came from a low area that they did not log. It wasn't cedar swamp, but it was swampy with spruce trees and some hemlocks, and fairly open in the understory that had some rubs in it and a lot of deer tracks. And it kind of, the clear cut kind of makes a horseshoe around it. So part of me was like, well, shit, if you snuck into there with a gun, you wouldn't need to go in a stand or anything. Just sit on the ground, you could still hunt. But that might be a nice little getaway spot for deer who are out feeding in the clear cut or traveling through the clear cut, get pressured, bumped by people driving in on these roads. Maybe they'll go head down into that little swamp. So that's about the only positive. I'm sweating like crazy. My legs are all cut up from thistles, blackberry bushes. I don't know, staying at home and snuggling the kids watching Paw Patrol sounds pretty good right about now. So that might be what I do. I'm gonna hop on the old fat tire and get some air in this hair. Try to dry out a little bit. Yeah, not every scouting trip is successful, as illustrated by the last 15 minutes of this video. But yeah, well, there's always the next spot. We'll move on and keep going and go have fun with the kids. Enjoy your July.